The planet Valera never slept. Its sky was always dark, and its wind always screamed like a living creature. Sharp dust storms moved across the land every hour. The dust was not normal, each grain was like a tiny blade, cutting anything it touched. No one walked outside without a shield suit. No one, except a young alien girl named Rhea. Every morning, before the sun could rise behind the thick clouds, Rhea opened the old metal door of her shelter. Her hands shook as she tightened the broken straps on her shield suit. The suit was old and weak. The visor had cracks like spider webs. But she had no choice. Her mother lay inside the shelter, breathing slowly, fighting a sickness that grew stronger every day. The only thing keeping her alive was a strange glowing liquid found in the toxic desert. It had to be collected fresh every 24 hours, or it lost all power. So Rhea walked into death every single day. As she stepped out, the storm hit her like a punch. The dust clashed against her visor with metallic sounds, ping, 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 as if someone was throwing needles at her face. Rhea took a deep breath, held it, and moved forward. Her boots sank into the soft gray sand. The world around her was empty. No plants, no animals, no sound except the storm whispering terrible things in her ears. She walked fast. She knew the rules. Don't stop. Don't look back. Don't listen to the voices in the storm. The path to the glowing liquid pool was long, and the land was dangerous. Broken ruins of old buildings lay half buried under sand. Strange shapes moved in the distance, shadows that were not wind, shadows that were alive. She tried not to look at them. Rhea kept her eyes on the ground. If the storm became worse, she would lose sight of everything. Already she could feel the toxic dust trying to melt the thin fabric of her suit. Small holes appeared on the sleeves. Her arm burned where the dust touched her skin. She hissed in pain but kept walking. Her mother needed her. That was the only thing that mattered. After nearly an hour, Rhea reached a small valley between two tall black rocks. The rocks made a natural wall, blocking some of the storm. Here, hidden in a crack in the ground, was a pool of bright blue liquid. It glowed softly, like a small piece of the sky had fallen to the ground. Rhea quickly filled her metal container. The liquid swirled inside like living light. It looked beautiful, but she knew it was not enough to cure her mother completely. It only stopped the sickness from getting worse. Every day her mother grew weaker. Every day Rhea wondered if this would be the last time she made the journey. She closed the container tightly and placed it in her bag. It was time to return. But something felt wrong. The ground under her feet vibrated. At first gently, then harder, like something big was moving nearby. Rhea froze. Her breath stopped. Her heart pounded. The stories her mother used to tell came rushing into her mind, stories of giant desert beasts, creatures that ate anything that moved. Or worse, stories of the metal ghosts, strange walking machines from the old wars. She told herself not to panic. Maybe it was just the storm. But then she saw it. Footprints. Huge ones. Heavy ones. Deep in the sand. And shaped like no creature she knew. They were too perfect, too round, too mechanical. Her pulse raced. Something unnatural had walked here. Something new. And she had seen no such tracks yesterday. Rhea forced herself to keep moving, walking faster through the valley. Her hands shook on the straps of her bag. The container inside seemed to grow heavier with every step. Soon she reached the open field again. The storm had become stronger. Dust spun around her like angry spirits. She could barely see a few feet ahead. The sky flashed with green lightning, lighting the desert in short bursts. In one burst of light, she saw a tall, dark shape far away. It stood still, watching her. Rhea blinked hard. When the next flash came, the shape was gone. Her breathing quickened. Just the storm, she whispered to herself. Just the storm tricking my eyes. But then the ground shook again, stronger this time. Rhea stumbled and fell to her knees. Her visor hit a rock, and a new crack formed across the glass. A thin line of hot dust slipped through and touched her cheek, burning her skin. She cried out but pushed herself up, wiping tears with her glove. She couldn't break down now. She had to go home. Her mother was waiting. She walked as fast as she could, almost running now, but the storm kept pulling her back. Every few seconds, the earth trembled under her feet. Something was following her. Something big. Her shelter finally came into view, small, metal, shaking in the storm. Relief washed through her body. She ran toward it. But before she reached the door, the ground shook again, so hard that she almost fell. A loud thud echoed behind her. She turned slowly, fear crawling up her spine. Through the wall of dust, a giant metal figure walked toward her. Its steps were heavy, leaving deep marks in the sand. Its body glowed with small red lights. The storm dust slid off its metal armor as if it was alive. Rhea couldn't breathe. She had heard stories of human machines, but she had never believed them. The figure stopped a few meters away. It stood taller than any creature she had seen. Then, with a slow mechanical sound, the metal plates on its front opened like a flower of steel petals. Inside, she saw something she never expected. A human face. The stranger's voice came through the storm, deep and clear, speaking a language she didn't know but somehow understood. "Stop. It's not safe for you here." The door of her shelter slammed open behind her from the wind. Rhea stood frozen between the storm and the strange metal man. The storm howled louder. The ground shook again. And everything went silent. For a long moment, Rhea could not move. The storm screamed around her, dust cutting the air like knives, but her body felt frozen. The giant metal figure stood only a few steps away. Its glowing red lights dimmed and brightened like a heartbeat. Inside the open metal plates, the human face watched her with calm, steady eyes. Rhea had never seen a human before. She had only heard stories told in the dark, by the old ones, stories that made children hide under blankets. Humans were described as monsters from another world, cruel, cold, and dangerous. But the face in front of her did not look cruel. It looked tired. And strangely, worried. The human raised one hand slowly, an open gesture, as if trying not to frighten her. "Please," he said again, voice warm and deep, "don't stay out here. The storm is getting worse." Rhea's legs finally responded. She stepped back, gripping her bag tightly. The metal man took one step forward, not fast, not aggressive, just enough to keep her from falling into the sand. Then a sharp crack echoed above them. A lightning bolt struck the ground nearby, throwing sand into the air. Rhea lifted her arms to shield her face, but her cracked visor let in more dust. Her skin burned. The world spun. The human reacted instantly. His metal suit shifted, plates sliding and locking into a protective shape. A transparent shield snapped out from the suit's arm, blocking the flying sand. He stepped in front of her, covering her like a wall. The sand hit the shield with a violent hiss. Rhea stared in shock. The human was protecting her? When the dust cleared, the man spoke again. "You need help. Let me take you inside." "No!" Rhea finally shouted. Her voice shook, but she stood firm. "I don't trust you." The human paused. His eyes softened, but he didn't move closer. "I understand," he said gently. "Your people fear us. Maybe for good reason. But I'm not here to hurt you." Rhea shook her head hard. "Leave me alone." But when she turned, her legs almost gave out. The long journey, the burns on her skin, the weight of fear, it all hit her at once. She stumbled, dropping to one knee. The human stepped forward quickly, but not too close. "You're hurt," he said. "And your suit is failing. If you stay in this storm any longer, you'll die." Rhea looked at him angrily, but deep inside, she knew he was right. The suit was breaking apart. Toxic dust already touched her skin. Every second outside was painful. Still, she did not trust him. "I have to go," she whispered. "My mother, she needs this medicine." The human's expression changed at the word mother. He knelt carefully, lowering his giant metal body down to her level. "Tell me," he said softly, "what sickness does she have?" Rhea hesitated. She remembered her mother's shaking hands, her weak breathing, how she whispered Rhea's name even when half asleep. "She is dying," Rhea said, voice breaking. "Only this liquid keeps her alive. I must bring it every day." She lifted her bag slightly. The human's eyes widened, not with surprise, but with understanding. "Show me," he said quietly. Rhea did not know why, but she opened the bag. Maybe because his voice sounded honest. Maybe because she had no one else to talk to. She held up the container of glowing blue liquid. The human leaned forward, studying it. His face turned serious. "This isn't medicine," he said. Rhea's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "This liquid, it only slows the sickness," he explained. "It doesn't cure anything. Your mother's body will become weaker each day." Rhea felt the world tilt. She stepped back, shaking her head. No, it helps her. I see it. She gets better." The man shook his head gently. "It only hides the sickness. It never heals." Rhea's throat tightened. A tear slipped down her cheek, mixing with dust. "Then, what do I do?" The human stood up slowly. His metal suit hummed with power. "There is a real cure," he said. "But it is far from here, deep inside the stormlands. Too far for you. Too dangerous." He paused, looking straight into her eyes. "But I can take you there." Rhea froze again. Her mind raced. Should she believe him? Should she trust a creature she had been taught to fear? Suddenly, a loud screech echoed across the desert. A shape moved on the far ridge, dark, tall, and thin. Its limbs bent the wrong way. Its eyes glowed white in the storm. A storm beast. Rhea's blood turned cold. She had seen the shadows before, but never this close. The creature let out another screech and leaped forward, running toward them. The human reacted instantly. "Behind me," he commanded. Rhea didn't have time to argue. She ran behind the metal suit. The creature charged, its long arms slicing through the sand. Its mouth opened wide, showing rows of needle-like teeth. The human raised his arm. A pulse of blue energy shot out, hitting the creature in the chest. The beast screamed, flew backward, and disappeared into the storm. Silence fell. Rhea stared, amazed and terrified. The human turned to her. "Now you understand why it is too dangerous for you to walk alone." Rhea swallowed hard. She understood now. The storm was not the only danger. There were creatures out here waiting for prey. And she had been walking alone through all of it. The human lowered himself again. "My name is Captain Mason," he said slowly. "I came from Earth. I am here to help." Rhea stared into his eyes for a long moment. She still felt fear, but also something else, a small spark of trust. Mason extended a metal hand. "If we don't leave now," he said softly, "your mother may not survive tomorrow." Rhea looked at her shelter door. She thought of her mother's weak breathing. She thought of her daily pain, her loneliness, her fear. And then, she nodded. Carefully, slowly, she placed her small hand in Mason's large metal one. The storm howled around them, but for the first time, Rhea didn't feel alone. Rhea held Captain Mason's metal hand tightly as he lifted her into the protective space of his exosuit. The giant metal plates closed around her like a shield, leaving only a clear view panel in front of her. The storm roared outside, but inside the suit, everything felt strangely calm. "Hold on," Mason said. His voice echoed through the suit speakers, steady, strong, confident. Rhea nodded, though she wasn't sure he could see it. With a heavy step, Mason began to walk into the storm, deeper into the desert, far past the area Rhea had ever dared to go. The world outside turned into a blur of gray and green lightning. Ria's heart pounded. For the first time, she was traveling into the unknown not alone, but with a human she barely understood. A long, dangerous journey. Hours passed as Mason pushed forward against the violent wind. The storm kept growing stronger. Each step shook the suit. The ground trembled as if the planet itself was warning them to turn back. Inside the suit, Ria watched the shapes swirling outside. "What is this cure?" she finally asked in a small voice. Mason answered without hesitation. "It's a protein compound created by Earth scientists. Your mother's sickness, we studied it years ago. We created a full cure. But the only sample left is at the research outpost." Ria blinked in confusion. "Why only one?" Mason's voice grew sad. "Because this planet became too dangerous. We lost people. So the team left. I stayed behind to keep the cure safe." He paused. "And to wait for someone like you." Ria didn't understand that last part, but before she could ask, the suit suddenly shook violently. A sharp alarm sounded inside. "What's happening?" she cried. Mason's voice hardened. "Storm creatures. Get ready. Attack from the shadows." Through the suit's glass, Ria saw dark shapes crawling across the sand faster than any animal, bending their legs in strange, impossible ways. They circled Mason's suit, hissing. One jumped on the suit, clawing at the metal. Sparks flew. Mason swung his arm, throwing the creature off. Another leaped from above. Mason fired a blue energy shot, blasting it away. The creatures screamed in anger. Ria held her breath, gripping the suit's metal frame. Mason kept fighting each step, each strike shaking the suit from inside. But then... crack! One creature tore a piece from the outer armor. Red lights flashed everywhere. Mason stumbled. "Mason!" Ria shouted. "I'm okay," he said, but his voice sounded strained. "The suit can still hold. We must reach the outpost." With a final burst of energy, Mason fired a wide shockwave that sent the creatures scattering into the storm. They disappeared into the dark swirling dust. Everything fell silent again. But now, Mason's steps were slower. The hidden Earth outpost. Finally, after endless walking, a small shape appeared in the distance, half buried under sand. It looked like a broken metal dome. "That's it," Mason whispered. He forced the suit forward and pressed a code into a small glowing panel. A hidden door slid open with a heavy sound. Warm, safe light spilled out. Inside was a small Earth research station, empty, quiet, but full of advanced machines. Mason gently set Ria down and stepped out of his suit. For the first time, she saw him clearly, a tired man with dark eyes, wearing a torn, dust-covered uniform. He limped toward a metal storage unit. "This is it," he said. He opened it, revealing a single silver container with glowing blue lights. The real cure. Ria stared at it, full of hope and fear. "We must go back now." "Yes," Mason agreed. But, he looked at his suit. The armor was cracked open, wires exposed, lights blinking. The suit is damaged. It won't survive another long walk. Ria's heart dropped. "What will we do?" Mason took a slow breath. "I will carry you and the cure. But without my suit, I'll be walking in the storm." Ria shook her head violently. "You'll die." He gave her a tired smile. "Maybe. But your mother won't. That's worth it." Ria's eyes filled with tears. She stepped forward, grabbing his hand. "No. I won't let you." But Mason gently pulled his hand away and lifted her and the cure back into the damaged suit. The protective plate still closed, barely. Outside, the storm howled even louder. Mason stepped out of the outpost with nothing protecting him but his thin uniform. Dust hit his skin like fire. Ria becomes the hero. As they moved, Mason's steps became slower. The storm creatures returned, watching from the shadows. The toxic air burned his lungs. His breathing grew rough. Inside the suit, Rhea screamed, "Stop! You're hurting yourself." Mason whispered, "Keep going, keep talking, it helps me stay awake." Rhea pressed her hands against the suit's glass. "You saved me. You protected me. Now let me help." Mason didn't answer. He was barely standing now. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind slammed into them. Mason fell to one knee. The suit tilted, almost falling. Rhea acted instantly. She forced the emergency release button. The suit opened with a violent hiss. Rhea jumped out into the storm, grabbing Mason's arm. The dust burned her skin immediately, but she didn't stop. "Mason," she shouted. "Stand up." He tried, but his legs shook. Rhea put his arm around her small shoulders. The weight almost crushed her, but she pushed forward. Step by step. Pain shot through her whole body, but she didn't let go. She was the one leading now. The final moments. At last, the shape of her shelter appeared in the storm, small, shaking, barely visible. Rhea dragged Mason toward it with the last of her strength. Her legs felt like stone. Her skin burned. Her breath came in sharp cries. But she reached the door. It opened automatically, pulling them inside. The storm's scream stopped. Warm silence filled the room. Rhea collapsed to the floor, coughing. Mason fell beside her, barely conscious. But she didn't rest. She crawled to her mother's bed and opened the silver container. The cure glowed with soft white light. "Please, please work," she whispered. She poured the liquid into her mother's cup and helped her drink. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then her mother's eyes opened clear, bright, alive. "Rhea, my little star," she whispered. Rhea burst into tears, hugging her tightly. She looked back at Mason. He lay on the floor, his skin burned, breathing weakly. Her mother reached out a trembling hand toward him. "He saved us." "Yes," Rhea whispered, taking Mason's hand gently. "He saved both of us." Mason slowly opened his eyes. He saw Rhea and her mother, safe and alive. A small smile crossed his face. "Told you, humans aren't monsters." Rhea held his hand tighter, tears falling on the floor. "No," she said softly. "You're a hero. My hero." And in that small shelter, in the middle of a dying world, a human and two aliens shared a moment of peace, a moment that proved that courage, kindness, and hope could still survive even in the darkest storms.